Welcome to the Truth Behind the Landfill Series. Landfills aren't just the dump. They're engineered mountains of waste that shape landscapes, ecosystems, and communities for generations. In this series, you'll uncover how landfills actually work, from their structure to their hidden limits of their technology. You'll see what's really inside of them, from everyday trash to toxic silent killers, and you'll explore the long-term environmental and human costs that landfills leave behind, from polluted groundwater to communities bearing the heaviest burdens. Because landfills aren't just about where garbage goes, they're about the legacy we leave behind. And the choices we make today will decide whether tomorrow's landscapes are filled with a thriving ecosystem or buried in waste. Let's begin with Module 1, what landfills really are. What are landfills, really? The Truth Behind Landfill Series, Module 1. This isn't a PhD in landfill engineering, but it is going to make you think about where away really is when you throw things away. So why does this matter? Not why do landfills matter, we all pretty much get that, we need someplace for our garbage to go. But why does it matter that you, as an individual in your society, understand at least the basics of what landfills are? Well, let's start with the environmental impact. Landfills are not static piles of trash. They're active chemical and biological systems that permanently alter the land they occupy with things like leaking methane and generating toxic leachate, the stuff that forms when liquid travels through a solid and removes some of the components of that solid with it. Understanding all of this helps us see that every bag we toss has long-term consequences for soil, air, and water quality. Then we have consumer influence. Landfills just exist because we've created the demand. Every product we buy, use, and toss fuels this system. When consumers push for repairable goods, recyclable packaging, and corporate responsibility, industries have no choice but to adapt. Now we have wasted resources. Many landfill-bound items aren't garbage, they're untapped raw materials. Once buried, these resources are almost impossible to recover, meaning we're constantly mining, logging, and manufacturing more to replace them. It isn't just waste, it's a massive economic leak. Then we have personal empowerment. Knowing the reality of landfill design and operation gives you tools to make more intentional choices. It's not about guilt tripping, it's about shifting from I can't do anything to I know exactly where I can make a difference, like with upcycling, reuse, and recycling. That knowledge can ripple outward through families, workplaces, and communities. And then we have our mental load. Waste is an invisible stressor. We keep it out of sight, but deep down, we know it's piling up somewhere. I mean, why do you think the movie industry makes so much money off of post-apocalyptic flicks? We're scared on an animal level. So understanding how landfills actually works can replace vague eco-anxiety with informed action. It's like turning on the lights in a messy room. You can't fix what you can't see. Ancient waste disposal to early open dumps. Let's take a quick journey through time because waste isn't just a modern problem. It's a story as old as humanity itself, evolving from simple piles of scraps to the massive engineered landfills that we live with today. Trust me, it's more interesting than it sounds, and the past holds some serious clues to our future. From midden piles to mountains of trash. For thousands of years, humans discarded waste in simple pits or open piles called middens. Think of them like the OG landfills without the engineering. As civilizations grew, so did their trash, but it was mostly organic and biodegradable. Early open dumps were basically nature's compost heaps gone wild. The problem was there's no rules, no liners, and no care. Waste just piled up wherever convenient, often near settlements, leading to smells, pests, and disease. So basically, for most of history, trash wasn't a problem, it was just there. People dumped it, nature sort of dealt with it, and everyone moved on. It was like the original out of sight, out of mind, except back then, it actually kind of worked because populations were smaller and stuff was mostly organic. Nobody was tossing out plastic wrap or old TVs in ancient Athens. But as soon as we started getting better at making stuff, we also got a lot better at making waste. And that's where things start to get interesting and a little messy. The rise of industrial trash and the birth of the sanitary landfill. The industrial boom plus a trash tsunami equaled the sanitary landfill. The Industrial Revolution pumped out new material, plastic, metal, and chemicals, and suddenly trash got heavier, nastier, and more complex. Open dumps became toxic nightmares, threatening health and environment. Cities needed a better plan fast. Enter the sanitary landfill. Engineering sites with liners, compaction, and leachate collectors designed to isolate trash from nature and people. A major upgrade, but not perfect. The Industrial Revolution was like humanity hitting a fast forward button. More people, more factories, more stuff. And all that stuff had to go somewhere. The open dumps couldn't keep up. The cities started drowning in their own garbage. Diseases spread, and the smell was legendary. And let's just say property values did not improve. Enter the sanitary landfill, a more organized and engineered way of hiding trash. We lined the pits, covered the layers, and for the first time tried to manage waste with actual science instead of just shoving it over there. Why landfill matters today. Out of sight but not out of mind. Your great-grandparents' trash is still out there, quietly decomposing or leaking nastiness. Landfills are not just piles of garbage. They're complex systems with environmental, social, and economic impacts that last generations. Understanding this history helps us question, what's the real cost of throwing away, and how can we do better? Here's the thing. We've gotten really good at hiding trash from ourselves. Modern landfills are engineered marvels. They keep the smell down and they keep the critters out. But they don't make trash disappear. That takeout container you tossed last week, it's probably going to be around longer than your family tree. So when we talk about waste, it's not about guilt, it's about realizing that every decision we make adds up in a very real and physical way. Once you see that, you can start looking at what you toss a little differently. So let's get specific about what happens when you toss something into the trash. So firstly, you bag up your trash, you put it on the curb, and the garbage truck takes it away. Out of sight, out of mind. But that's just the beginning. The garbage truck takes it to a transfer station, where the load gets dumped, sometimes sorted enough to pull out major hazards, and then crushed down tighter before heading to the landfill. Then we have landfill cells. At the landfill, the trash is layered into a lined pit, stacked and squished down by massive compaction machines until it's as dense as they can make it. And this becomes forever storage, and where it gets particularly ugly. Rainwater seeps down, but so does every other liquid from rotting food, spoiled milk, half-drank soda cans, nail polish remover, battery acids, all that stuff. All of it mixing into a toxic stew. If you've ever poured the garbage juice out of the bottom of a trash bag, imagine that but on a massive scale. This is the garbage tea, the leachate that I was referring to before. And even with the collection pipes, it can still leak into the soil and the water supplies. So then we have the gas buildup. So meanwhile, trapped food scraps and organics rot without oxygen, producing methane, a greenhouse gas over 25 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. Landfills install vents to capture some of it, and a bit even gets turned into energy, but a lot escapes and goes into our atmosphere. And then this is a very long legacy. Then there's what doesn't rot at all. Plastic bottles, styrofoam, clothing fibers, they'll sit intact for hundreds and even thousands of years. Batteries slowly leak heavy metals, nail polish and cleaners turn into toxic sludge, and plastics don't disappear. They just break down into microplastics that will outlive us all. Landfills aren't where waste ends. They're where waste gets buried alive. How landfills are constructed. Now we're diving under the surface, literally. Landfills are not just trash heaps. They're complex, engineered systems designed to keep the nastiness contained. This section will lift the lid on the tech, the tricks, and yes, the garbage juice from hell that landfill engineers wrestle with every day. Landfills. more engineered than your condo complex. Landfills are carefully designed structures with multiple engineered levels to keep the gross stuff contained. From thick bottom liners made of clay and synthetic materials to leachate collection systems that suck up toxic garbage juice before it escapes. There's also gas vents releasing methane, a potent greenhouse gas that we can sometimes capture and turn into energy. Believe it or not, modern landfills are less like a giant hole in the ground and more like a high-tech apartment building for garbage. You've got the bottom liner, that's your foundation. Leachate pipes are sort of like your plumbing system, except instead of water, they're carrying garbage juice. And gas vents are your built-in ventilation. It's the massive, carefully planned structure designed to keep trash contained for decades and maybe centuries. It's not glamorous, there's no rooftop pool, but the engineering behind it is genuinely impressive. And the thing is, it's also a reminder. We've built infrastructure to house our waste, which says a lot about how much of it we produce. The dirty details, how it all works and sometimes doesn't. Think of a landfill like a giant layered lasagna: clay, plastic liner, pipes, and gas vents, and mountains of trash in between. Compaction machines squish trash tight to save space. Think of it like the landfill's version of a really intense hug. Leachate collection pipes catch toxic liquids, but sometimes these systems leak or fail, causing groundwater contamination. Gas vents help prevent explosions, but methane is still a major climate villain. We're working with imperfect technology that has limits. It's a tough balancing act between contamination and cost. Here's where things get juicy, literally. Garbage juice, officially called leachate. It's what you get when rainwater filters through the layers of waste. It's part water, part mystery potion, part nightmare fuel. The system is designed to collect it and treat it, but nothing's perfect. Compaction machines squeeze the trash down to fit more in, and the gas vents let methane escape so it can be captured and used as energy. But every system has its limits. Nature and time have a way of testing even the best engineering. So part of the landfill story is managing risk, not eliminating it entirely. What this means for us. Not perfect, but what else can we do? Landfills aren't villainous monsters. They're our current best effort at managing tons of waste safely and responsibly. But they're not invincible or foolproof, which means innovation and fresh ideas are crucial to improve landfill safety and sustainability. Understanding this complexity helps us push for smarter solutions and make better personal and policy choices. Landfills are not glamorous. They're complicated, expensive, and far from perfect, but they do represent decades of engineering progress aimed at protecting our communities and environment. The garbage juice is nasty stuff, but thanks to liners and collection systems, it mostly stays put, though not always perfectly. This section isn't about trash shaming landfill operators, it's about understanding the system so that we know where we need to go next. Landfills, vertical versus lateral expansion. So here's the million-dollar question. When a landfill hits capacity, do you build up or do you build out? Spoiler, neither option is a walk in the park. This section explores the space crunch, the engineering trade-offs, and some of the creative solutions from the front lines of trash management. Buckle up, because this is where the real world gets a little messy. So when you run out of space, do you go up or out? Landfills face a serious real estate problem. They fill up fast. So what's the solution? Up or out? Vertical expansion means piling trash higher, which saves land, but adds engineering challenges like stability and gas management. Lateral expansion spreads the landfill footprint outward and demands more land and can disrupt local ecosystems and communities. Trash takes up space. It's just like housing. Space is limited. When a landfill runs out of room, there are really only the two options: stack it higher or spread it wider. Vertical expansion is basically the skyscraper approach. Great for saving land, but you've got height limits, stability concerns, and the simple fact that nobody loves living next to Mount Garbage. Lateral expansion, on the other hand, means claiming more ground, which often means sparking battles with nearby communities and environmental groups. Both approaches are a reminder that our waste problem isn't just a technical issue, it's a real estate issue. And just like with cities, eventually you run out of prime locations, which is why solving waste means thinking bigger than just where to pile it next. Landfill expansion isn't just a technical challenge, it's a community and environmental negotiation. Both going up and spreading out have pros and cons, and engineers have to juggle that safety, cost, and public acceptance. This is exactly why we need fresh perspectives to dream up smarter, more sustainable ways to handle our growing mountains of waste. Living with landfills. What can we actually do? While you might not build the next gen landfill, you can start by treating your trash like it matters, because it does. Or maybe you will build the next landfill. We need you. Real talk, landfills aren't something that we can just fix overnight. They're massive, complicated, and part of a global system that's way bigger than any of us. But here's the kicker. Understanding landfills changes how we relate to waste. Every item you toss, every decision you make about packaging or recycling ripples through systems. The more thoughtful we become about what actually belongs in a landfill, the more pressure we put on industry, governments, and innovators to find better ways. Your waste, your power. Small steps equal a big impact. Maybe feeling a little bit inspired? Here's a few ways you can flex your landfill muscle without breaking a sweat. Firstly, pause before you toss. Is this item truly landfill bound, or could it be reused, recycled, or composted instead? 2. Share what you've learned. Even one conversation can multiply awareness. Post a picture, pop a fact into Instagram, or just chat with your friends. And finally, support policies and products that prioritize waste reduction and landfill alternatives. Your voice and your dollars really do matter more than you think. Remember, landfill management is a marathon, not a sprint, and it all starts with small, intentional steps. So here's a couple questions to just let them simmer and see what comes from them. 1. If landfills are a long-lasting legacy, what do you want yours to say? 2. When you throw something away, where does it really go, and who's paying that price? And 3. How can small changes in your daily habits send big ripples across a landfill landscape?